engines on this side of the train. I was actually in tears because I was afraid I wasn't going to get my answer. And I got my answer. And the rest of the seminar was directed exactly at me. And I listen to you all the time. So I'm hearing you differently now. And I'm hearing new words that aren't new, but they're new. Like intent and focus and deliberate and thought.
Aren't those good feeling words?
They are.
Because deliberate means not an engine this way and an engine this way, just one this way. Focused. Not an engine this way and an engine this way, just an engine this way. It's something that you can do easily.
It's easy.
And the more momentum that you allow, the easier it gets too. Because universal forces are with you and so's your inner being.
Instant manifestations. I've never had the experience of thinking a thought and having it literally show up immediately.
Well, when you think thoughts that you haven't practiced resistant thoughts about, that's why we say start with something easy. When you start with your issue, where you've already got all those engines piled up in opposition, then it takes a little while for you to turn your attention from some of the contradictory thoughts in order to allow your desires to dominate. But when you start with something that you haven't given a lot of thought to, and you just ponder it, then you can receive an instant manifestation. And sometimes that instant manifestation is just another thought, and then another thought, and then another thought, and then another thought, and then the thoughts do begin to turn to things and people and conversations and experiences and piles of money and stuff. Yeah.
There have been things I've been thinking about for a long time, though, too. I've wanted to go to Provence for years. And it's always been like, oh, well, one day I'll go. One day I'll go. Oh, it'd be so fun to go. One day I'll go, but not right now. I could go now, but I'm not going to. I never went. And the other night I was laying in my bed. I had just gotten to San Antonio and had a good day. Laying in my bed, and I'm thinking, gosh, it would be so fun. I wonder where Abraham and Esther will go for their next cruise. It would be so cool if it were Provence, because I've always wanted to go to Provence with it. It would be great to go with Abraham, because you always pick such wonderful venues. And then yesterday I opened up the email with the announcement of the new cruise. So I can't wait to join you in September. Thank you.
The other day, a woman was telling us that she wanted to come to one of these gatherings and she couldn't figure out how she was going to get here. And a friend of hers said, well, I'm going and I can get you a standby ticket. She worked for an airline. So she arranged a standby ticket for this friend of hers to fly from another city, different than she was flying from. And they were both going to go to Chicago. And so she got to the airport with her standby ticket, and her friend had pre-paved it for her in a way that she was able to go right through the TSA clearing with great ease. And when she got to the gate, she was not allowed on the flight. The flight was full, so she couldn't get on. And then the next flight came and left, and she couldn't get on that either. But she didn't feel discouraged. She still felt optimistic, and she called her friend and said, well, I didn't get on the first two flights. What do you think I should do? And her friend was just boarding her flight. And her friend said, well, maybe you could fly to another city and there might be more standby seats open from that city into Chicago. And so this girl went to the service center and she said, I was wondering if I maybe could get on a standby flight to New York, and then maybe from there I could get to where I really want to be. And the woman who was helping her behind the counter said, well, where is it you're wanting to go? And she said, I want to go to Chicago. And the woman said, well, I've got a plane leaving. Let me see if I can get you on it. Yes, I can get you on it. So this woman went down to board her flight, and she was the only passenger on the flight. They were moving an aircraft to another place, and it had all the crew and all the flight attendants were all on it. She said she sat there, and the flight attendant stood in front of her and did the safety announcement. And then the pilot, the captain, came on the plane, and he said, ma'am. So she accomplished a private jet because She knew what she wanted. She stayed open up to possibilities about it. And she had already progressed enough in the thoughts turning to things that her friend had already been engaged and her friend had already opened some doors. In other words, the better it gets, the better it gets. In the same seminar, another woman said, again, she wanted to come to the gathering, didn't know how she was going to afford it. She didn't have the money, but she wanted to go. So, in the train analogy, she wanted to go and couldn't afford it. But this wasn't what she was doing. She wanted to go, felt that something would happen. It'll probably unfold. It'll be all right. Things are always working out for me. She wasn't doing the contradictory conversation with herself. And then she and another friend, a friend who had introduced her to us, who had talked to her about law of attraction, they're taking a walk a few days before the event. And they're walking in the woods. And